There's a lie so old, so carefully woven into everything you've been told, that you've mistaken it for truth. You didn't choose it. You were born into it, whispered through stories, packaged in systems, reinforced in every room you've ever entered. And here's the worst part. You believed it, not because you were naive, but because everyone else did too. It's the lie that says reality is something outside of you, that the world happens to you, that truth is given to you, that freedom is earned through obedience, through control, through performance. It's the lie that turned you from a creator into a consumer, from a living presence into a reacting machine. And the more you chased truth outside yourself, the more lost you became within. But here's what they never wanted you to realize. Your reality was never out there. It was always being built inside you. From the moment you were born, they gave you a name, an identity, a role to play. They told you what's possible, what's real, what's normal. And without knowing it, you agreed. Not just with your words, but with your energy. You agreed to play small because they told you growth means climbing someone else's ladder. You agreed to suffer because they said pain means progress. You agreed to fear your own power because they said humility means staying silent. But none of that was real. It was installed, like a program, a system of beliefs so subtle, so consistent, you stopped questioning it. And instead of creating reality, you learned to adapt to it, to react, to survive, to perform a version of yourself they would approve of. But deep down, you always felt something was off, like the script didn't fit, like the lines were written by someone who didn't know you. That's because they were. Everything you see is filtered through what you believe. And what you believe wasn't chosen consciously. It was inherited. From culture, from family, from systems that trained you to fit, not to question. They didn't want you to know that reality isn't fixed. It's fluid. And whoever controls belief controls the shape of your world. So they fed you illusions that felt safe. That success means sacrifice. That worth comes from doing, not being. That security is found in what you own, not what you are. That truth is out there, and you must earn it. But it was never about truth. It was about agreement. Because if they can get you to agree with limitation, you'll live inside a cage without ever seeing the bars. You'll call it normal. You'll defend it. You'll pass it down. And all the while, you'll wonder why your soul keeps whispering, "This can't be it." That whisper, it's not confusion. It's memory of what you knew before the lie. The most powerful prison is the one you don't know you're in, not because there are guards, but because you've been taught to guard it yourself. They programmed you to doubt your own intuition, to mock your own sensitivity, to distrust your inner knowing, and to worship outer authority instead. So when something didn't feel right, You told yourself you were crazy. When your soul pulled you in a different direction, you labeled it irresponsible. When your heart whispered, "There's more," you silenced it with logic and fear. That wasn't you failing. That was the design. Because as long as you believe that truth lives in rules and freedom lives in permission, you'll never challenge the structure that profits from your silence. Reality didn't just shape your thoughts, it shaped your senses. Your very perception of what's real has been trained, filtered, directed. Like a lens placed over your eyes since birth, you've only ever seen what the system allowed you to see. Not because there's nothing else, but because you were taught not to look. You were taught to trust images over instincts, data over dreams, labels over essence. And slowly, you stopped feeling the world directly. You started interpreting it through fear, through expectation, through inherited rules you never agreed to, but lived by anyway. That's the trap. Not just living inside a false reality, but calling it freedom. Thinking you're making choices when the options were written for you. Believing you're waking up while still dreaming someone else's dream. But cracks are forming in the illusion now. Little moments that don't add up. Little feelings you can't explain. And those cracks aren't something to fear. They're your way out. You feel it, don't you? The system is cracking. Not just the world's systems, but the one inside you. The one made of silent agreements. Of old beliefs you never chose, but kept repeating like mantras. They told you what's real is what you can touch, measure, own. They never told you that what's most real is what moves in silence, what stirs when no one's looking, what cannot be explained, only felt. You believed the lie because it was everywhere, because truth was dressed up in credentials, and intuition was dismissed as imagination. But now the lie is heavy, too heavy, and your body knows it. Your nervous system knows it. Your soul is tired of holding up a version of you that was never yours to carry. And when the soul gets tired, it doesn't scream. It withdraws, not to give up, but to make space, for something more honest to rise. This isn't collapse, it's release. You're not losing control. You're losing the illusion of control that was never yours to begin with. And in that loss, you gain something else. Vision. Not of what they told you to see, but of what's always been there, waiting for your permission to be real. There comes a moment when the lie just doesn't hold anymore. Not because someone proved it wrong, but because your being can no longer support it. You stop playing along, not out of rebellion, but out of alignment. Because the version of you that once needed validation, permission, and structure is falling away, and what's left is quieter, but stronger. You begin to question everything. Who told me this is how love works? Who decided my worth should be measured in output? Who said the only real things are what we can see? And more importantly, why did I believe them? The moment you ask, that is the moment reality begins to bend. Because you're no longer reacting to the world, you're rewriting it. Not with rage, but with remembrance. Not with force, but with presence. And it's here, in this quiet refusal to keep pretending, that you reclaim the one thing they never wanted you to touch: your creative power, the ability to shape experience from the inside out, the authority to say, no more, not just to the system, but to every belief that ever made you feel small. You've spent years trying to change your life, fix things, heal things, escape things, but nothing truly shifted until you questioned the foundation beneath it all. Now you see it. You weren't broken. You were just living inside a story that wasn't yours. And once that story cracked, the energy changed. You no longer chase alignment. You become it. Not because everything makes sense, but because your frequency no longer negotiates with things that don't feel like truth. And when you stop negotiating, you start creating. You move through the world with different eyes. You choose slower. You speak less, but with more weight. You're not reacting to the old world anymore. You're anchoring a new one through every breath, every decision, every moment. You refuse to self-abandon. Because real freedom doesn't look like escape. It looks like presence. The kind of presence that doesn't ask permission to exist. It simply radiates. And in that radiation, the lie loses power. Not because you exposed it, but because you outgrew it. You don't need to prove you've changed. You don't need to announce your awakening, because when you remember who you are, it echoes. People feel it before you speak. They sense it in your stillness, in your boundaries, in the way you no longer reach for things that once defined you. You've become a quiet disruption, not because you fight the system, but because you no longer feed it. You don't argue with the lie. You just stop living by it. And in that refusal, you become a mirror. For others still asleep. For those who know something's off, but can't name it. Your life becomes a permission slip. Not to be loud. Not to be perfect, but to be real. Because the deepest truths don't need defending. They simply need embodiment. You are no longer a believer of the lie. You are the living evidence that another way is possible. And that's what they never prepared for, a human who stopped agreeing with the program. You were never meant to be asleep. You were never meant to be controlled. The lie was never just about belief. It was about forgetting your role in creating this entire experience. And now, you remember. Not in theory, not as a philosophy, but as a knowing that lives in your bones. You don't need to convince anyone. You don't need to fix the system. You just need to live from the truth that reality begins with you. Every thought is a thread. Every emotion is an architect. Every choice is a vote for the world you're allowing to exist. They told you reality is what happens to you. But you've seen through that now. You know the real truth. Reality isn't built with rules. It's built with attention. And where yours goes, life follows. So choose with intention. Speak with presence. Live like your energy matters, because it does. And the more you do, the more the old world collapses under the weight of your awareness. Not with noise, not with war, but with silence, so honest it makes the lie impossible to sustain. Welcome back. You've always known. You just forgot for a while. And now you see clearly.